og ég hljóma öðruvísi tala ensku, þannig mér líður betur þannig. My name is Valrós. I'm an artist and a computer geek, born in 1996, and I work at Garðheimar. I was born prematurely and spent a lot of my time in the hospital as a child. My mental development wasn't in sync with other children or my older sister, so my parents started suspecting that something was not like it was supposed to be. When I was 6 years old, the suspicion of autism started to increase. I showed all classic symptoms. I was always alone, I was always in my own world, and I had no need or desire to talk to anybody, specifically other children. And so we set out to diagnose me, which concluded when I was 8 years old, and I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. A good example of my early undiagnosed autism was in kindergarten when two girls invited me to come play with them, and they wanted to play house, and they wanted to be like a mommy and daughter. And then they asked me what I wanted to play, and I wanted to be a dragon that hoards gold and spews rainbow fire. They did not want to play with me. This all came as a shock to my parents, and it took them some time to accept the results. They didn't know anything about autism at the time. The only thing they had to go off was a 1998 film called Rain Man. I'm a very good driver, you know? It was difficult to transition me from kindergarten to elementary and get the school to meet my special needs, and my parents ultimately decided to transfer me to another school. I never liked elementary school for a lot of reasons. I didn't want to be around many people, I struggled in mathematics, I got picked on, and my old school was either old-fashioned and would like brush off bullying. It's like, oh, it's just kids being kids, rough play, whatever. So you can imagine how they handled special needs kids. The only special treatment I can remember getting that I was allowed to have headphones during lunchtime because the noise in the cafeteria would like really upset me. But when I transferred, things really got better. That school's policy was to focus on the children's self-esteem first, which makes a lot of sense to me because you can't really produce good results unless you feel good about yourself first. In my new school, my special needs and limits were taken into consideration. I was able to skip difficult social situations that would make me exhausted. During recess, I was always allowed to go somewhere that wasn't so noisy. I really loved that school. I have a lot of good memories there, and all the teachers were really receptive to special needs kids and were really caring as well. I made a lot of good friends there, and they wouldn't treat me differently knowing that I was autistic. They wouldn't like put me down or elevate me for being autistic. But I still never managed to escape or skip mathematics, and I never got the grasp of it to the point where I started to develop some serious anxiety and depression. No matter what I tried, different textbook levels of mathematics, special classes, private tutoring, it would never stick in my head. As time went on, my mental condition got worse. I ended up seeking help from book to get my anxiety under control, and I was put on medication that I did not want to take. It's a special kind of humiliation when everyone around you understands something and you don't. And I felt left in the dirt by my classmates who could do algebra, percentages, and fractions, and I would sit there and struggle and feel like an idiot. It didn't matter if I was good at other subjects like art, history, or English. I couldn't keep up with everybody else, and that was really upsetting. I didn't enjoy my first treatment at all. Medication without therapy doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And personally, I can't stand taking pills. It makes me really uncomfortable to swallow something whole, especially like if it's small. Like, you know, your parents would tell you not to eat your toys? Same thing. It makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong, so I avoided taking my medication. And after a difficult high school experience, I decided I would attend FO, and now there were higher demands and expectations of me, and I had no special help available to me. Math was still my kryptonite, and nothing worked to get me to grasp it. My anxiety got worse, my depression increased, and thoughts of self-harm would start to spring up from the mess. My mental illness became so serious that when I got sent back to book, I was in a way worse condition than I was there the first time. Whenever I walk into the math class, I would always try to like mentally prepare myself, tell myself it is not so bad, I just need to focus. And then I would look at the worksheet, and at that point, my depression and anxiety would just be dancing around on my hippocampus like they own the place. After 5 months of therapy, I started to get better. I found mental balance in art therapy. It was very clear that school was making me sick. Art made me happy. It made me strong. It was decided that I would not go back to school and instead receive training from Janus and their work program. Art has always been one of my biggest strengths. It's a hobby, it's a skill, it's a very good tool for coping and venting on my feelings, good or bad. It was amazing to have an art therapist who could understand the visual representation of my suffering and talk to me about it. Not long after I joined Janus's work program, I was diagnosed with dyscalculia, which is a form of dyslexia for mathematics. That immediately explained so much and helped me accept that it's just something I can't do and should instead focus on something that I'm good at. I was 19 years old when I joined Janus, and I'm so thankful for their service. Everyone who was in the program with me was much older than me, which didn't bother me, but it did solidify the message that no matter how old you are, mental illness can affect anybody, and it's up to you to learn to manage yourself, know your limits, and know your strengths. I got a job at Heimildarmyndinni, where I'm surrounded by pots and plants, and I feel good there. I'm in a stable mental state, and I like my job and coworkers. I still live at home, but I put a percentage of my income to savings so that I can one day have a home and take care of myself. I'm optimistic and confident that I'll be independent and self-sufficient. If I can continue working in an environment that is considerate of my situation, I'll be okay. I spend my free time doing art, writing campaigns for Dungeons & Dragons for my friends, and I also play video games when I can, either alone or with my friends. After all the struggle that I went through with school, my dad worked to suggest a change in the school system for children with autism. He suggested a system where students with special needs could take their studies partially through the internet instead of being in social situations that can be taxing. And that students could possibly swap out a subject that they cannot do for something else of equal value. With that system, children on the spectrum would be more likely to finish their student's degree and continue schooling on their specialty. With a reasonable academic demand, there would be less likelihood of them developing depression and anxiety. If something like that was offered to me, I would have had a way easier time with school, and I hope that this option will be a possibility sometime in the near future. Thank you.